everyone. I actually want to just apologize. I'm just going to put it out there right from the get-go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you guys. I'm sorry to myself. I have not been active on this for 3 weeks, and I feel it. Honestly, like I always say, this is my audible journal. I can tell that I have not been podcasting and expressing myself personally, and I need it and I crave it. So episode 49, here we are. Thank you for being patient with me. I posted a TikTok yesterday and I was like, when life's just been lifing and you just feel like you don't have time for anything, that's how I've been feeling. I just feel like life just decided to throw its fastball at me and I was not ready. Or maybe I was. Maybe it's imposter syndrome, which I have talked to my therapist about, imposter syndrome. But I'm here and we're going to get going more on a regular cadence. The reason that I have not been very active is, which I've talked about it a little bit on TikTok, a little bit on here, but I quit my job and it was a long time coming. So the past month has really just been me getting more comfortable in my role, in my new lifestyle routine, the times that I have. And then on top of not only quitting my job and starting a new job, I also traveled to Europe with my family and just was going through still in the depths of my therapy journey, a lot of personal things. So it was just literal fuel to the fire. But I'm really excited because I want to sit down and talk to you guys all about why I quit my job. So that's what this whole entire episode is going to be about. Of course, I'm going to catch you up on my fun stuff that I've been up to since the last time we recorded. But the main thing is talking about a career pivot and why I decided to do it, what I was feeling, what am I doing now? And the best part is that I quit my job and I have no bad things to say about the company. It just wasn't for me anymore. So we'll get into all the details. But I'm really excited because these are the updates that I've been meaning to give. And I haven't felt like I was in a place to really talk about it yet. But here we are, episode 49. So what have I been doing the last couple of weeks? I've been doing a lot. So since we last recorded with Allie, phenomenal episode, I had a visitor come and she came the exact week that I actually started my new job. So I remember she came on Friday when we were hanging out and I started that Wednesday. And I was just I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm so stressed. And that weekend we went to Ojai, and Ojai is a place in California that is just absolutely gorgeous. You can just go and be surrounded. We went to this cute bookstore. You're surrounded by nature. It's just very zen, which was the perfect little weekend. And then because after that I was traveling for work, I had a work event, and then I had one weekend in between, which I think was St. Patrick's Day, which I didn't do anything because I was so wiped. And then I went to Europe with my family. And this will be a whole nother podcast episode as well. But Europe with my family was very special. My brother's studying abroad in Barcelona, and so we got to go visit him and see his life out there. There were 10 of us, the immediate family of mine, which is 6, and then my cousin and my brother's girlfriend and both of my grandmas went. So a huge group, and we were just traveling around Spain, and it ended up being a very much siblings-focused trip. I do wish I got to hang out with my parents a little bit, but it was just us against the world. At some points, it felt like we were doing Vespas, we were going to clubs, we were going out, we were eating tapas, we were running around on the streets of Spain, absolutely hammered and so giggly. And I haven't really been that blissful and carefree in a while, so it was really, really fun. And then this last weekend, so I got back, and then I got back on Sunday, and then I flew out on Thursday to spend some time in San Francisco, which was a whole nother thing and maybe another podcast episode, but super, super fun. I guess you could say my situation is there's no title on anything, but a situationship that just has turned into something kind of super fun and amazing. And so that's where I was in San Francisco, just spending time with a lot of good people, saw a Giants baseball game, and then got back on a Sunday. And we're back in the work week. And I told myself, I was like, Emma, you've taken 3 weeks. And I'm sure there's a pulse check. I'm sure there's someone out there who thinks that they're pulse checking me on my podcast. So here I am. And let's get into why I quit my job, because this happened honestly about a month ago. And I literally could remember the exact time that it happened because I was starting to interview with them early February. And I got my offer end of February. I had like about a week before I started my new job to quit my other job. And honestly can't even believe like I did it because it was a long time coming. So if we really go back to it, I'm going to give you guys the rundown. I was doing financial consulting, anti-money laundering, and it was great. I really wanted to graduate college, graduated from U of I, and get my feet on the ground in the corporate world. I wanted to learn how to be professional, take on all these tasks, write professional emails, be able to hold myself in the corporate world. And I'm also very analytical. I'm very analytical and I'm very creative. So that really was in line with my analytical side. I will say it was pretty fast actually after I started my full-time gig that I realized it wasn't creative enough for me and I was unfulfilled in some way and I couldn't put my finger on why. And so it was like, okay, I want to do this, stick it out for a year, stick it out for 2 years, see what happens. And there was, right when I started, actually, I did have a mentor in the company. Thank goodness for him. And I was like, my genuine interest is in consumer products and consumer goods. And I studied consumer economics in college and I really want to get more into that. Can I find projects like that? Yada, yada. And it was a little bit hard in anti-money laundering to switch to that CPG. So it never actually ended up happening. And when I started feeling unfulfilled, that's when I started getting into podcasting and looking at what other companies and positions and like brands there were out there. Not that I was applying, but I was like actively curious. I was like, what else is there? Because something about this, it's fine for right now, but this is not my long-term goal. And the reason that I also knew that it wasn't like my long-term career path or goal is I was sitting at a senior consultant level and I was looking at the people above me. So managers, senior managers, and not that anything is wrong with the position that they were at. I really want to hit that hard is that the company that I was at was amazing. They had the best people. They had an amazing culture. And I'm so fortunate for the time that I had, but it wasn't fulfilling me. And when I looked up at all those people who were ahead of me, I didn't want to be them. Like if I closed my eyes and pictured my life as what they were, I wasn't happy. And to realize that at like 23, 24, that's when I was like, okay, well, something has to change. And so it was honestly, I moved here in January and it was on my radar. I was applying to new jobs even like longer than a year ago. And the reason, one, it sucks finding a new job, especially in this economy. Let me tell you, it was just an unforgiving time to find a new job. One, when you're finding a new job, it's a full-time position. 2, when the economy sucks, that's just a blow to the face. And 3, I was also doing a career pivot. So after looking at all of these, brands, things that I was interested in, things that I'm attracted to, I realized that I would have to go from being finance, anti-money laundering, consulting girl, completely to a creative role. And I was looking more towards like marketing, operations, brand partnerships, everything in that realm. And I realized that I would have to take, honestly, like if I'm being completely honest, a little bit of a lateral step. I don't want to say it was a step back because I knew that where I wanted to go is what I wanted to do. So in any way, shape, or form, that was going to be a positive step for me. So I don't want to say I was taking a step back, but maybe a lateral movement to where, a lot of people might be getting these senior promotions or managers and all these things. And I felt like maybe I was going to have to start over. That was really scary. I think the feeling that you get when you know that something is on the horizon, something new, and you have to start over is scary because you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know what it's going to be. You don't know what it's going to look like. I didn't know how much time it was going to take. And let me tell you, it took me a while. So I was applying for these jobs. I knew I was going to have to do a career pivot. I basically got it in my head. I literally just had to tell myself and be like, listen, you want this for yourself. You want this level of success. You want this level of fulfillment in your life that you're not getting right now. So you have to make this jump or you're going to be miserable. And I started applying and interviewing with a few of few different companies. And the company that I'm at right now, I went from corporate to a startup. So I was interviewing with a startup. I interviewed with them back in September of 2023. They ended up not fulfilling that position. And then I kept in contact with them at the beginning of the year, reached out, see if they had any other positions. And they were like, not now, maybe in a few months. And they ended up reaching out and saying that there was an open position. And they ended up reaching out the same weekend that my mom was visiting. And I'm not even kidding you. The timing of this is crazy because we were driving to dinner and I was just talking about, how I really wasn't happy with where I was career-wise. And it was really affecting me. And I felt like I had a little bit too much time on my hands. I was thinking a little bit too much about everything. I wasn't excited about where it was going. And she looked at me and she was like, Emma, something has to change. And she's like, you have to change it now before you're too old. She's like, before you have God forbid, like kids, a husband, or like family members who are sick, and there's so many other responsibilities. And when you take that leap of faith, it's easier to do it when you're younger. And we had that conversation, and it was one that just like stuck with me because my mom has always been, she wants us to be successful, and she also wants us to be realistic about like, you have to be able to provide for yourself. And so I was nervous, when talking about this leap of faith, and my mom was like the number one supporter. And she was like, you have to do this for yourself, for your well-being, for your happiness. Take that leap of faith, do it now. What's the worst that could happen? And I'm not even kidding you. The next day I get this email from the startup saying that they have a position open. They want to talk to me. And it was like one of those things, like my mouth dropped. I was like, Mom, you're never going to believe this. I don't even believe this, but this is what just happened. And so that was in February. And then I finally, I went through a bunch of interview processes and I got the offer end of February. And I put in my 2 weeks with my company. And that day, Haley had some visitors, and Haley wasn't even here. It was just me and one of her best friends. And I put in my 2 weeks, and I was like, I've never done that before. And he was like, oh, don't worry. His name was Jackson. He's like, don't worry. I've quit so many jobs. He was helping me write my resignation letter. It was like just a whirlwind of like, I just met Haley's friend. We were on our knees in my room writing the resignation letter. And I was just like, when life happens, life happens. But when it rains, it pours. It all happened in like a blink of an eye where it was like, okay, I know I need to do this. I need to, state this. And I also needed to do it. Here's the other thing when you quit a job. You need to do it respectfully. And I had no idea how that would go down. So I wrote out my resignation letter. I wrote also after the resignation letter, and I sent it to HR, and it got like approved for my 2 weeks being put in. I took the next 2 weeks to actually call every single person that had a really big impact on me, and I wrote personal emails. I wish I could say I wrote personal letters, but I didn't. I was remote. All of our relationships were made remote. But I wrote like bullet points of like why they had a huge impact on me and what I'm going to take forward in my next role. And I was actually really happy that I did that. And it made me really happy to reflect on the amazing people that I met and all the lessons that I learned. Because that really is what is going to carry me, like all of those lessons and how to hold myself professionally. Even though I'm from corporate to startup, I think just being very mindful of the relationships that you have and have created in your life at any part of your life is so important. So yeah, you guys, I quit corporate and now I work at a startup. And there are some differences, obviously, because corporate versus startup is very different. And maybe I'll get into it like a little bit more, but I'll just start with like the routine changes that I've been going through. So I was 100% remote with my corporate job, consulting. With the startup, I am 100% in person. I also went from anti-money laundering to marketing. So that's a big change. I've been marketing for myself a little bit on TikTok for the podcast. Obviously, I'm a consumer of like everything. I love brands. Love anything aesthetic. Like I love the vibe. But I've never, done it for a brand. And so during my interview process, I showed what I could do. It landed me the job. And I will say, though, now I have like imposter syndrome. And I was telling my therapist that, and she goes, you know what, Emma? That's fine. Like you're in a role that you worked hard for, you interviewed for. They know what you have and what you can do. Imposter syndrome is normal. Own your reality. And so that line, well, a few lines have gotten me through, but that line of own your reality has helped me navigate the change of corporate to startup and just everything that like now I'm working a 9 to 5 in person or like 9 to 6 or like all of these different hours. And I've had, any type of change brings a lot of stress and some anxiety, also like amazing things as well. But she was like, own your reality and own it well. And that's literally what I think about every day. I'm like, you know what? This is it. I'm going to own it. This is what I'm doing. And Haley also has a line that I think of a lot. And she goes, let go and let God. And it's literally just like, let go. The things that are out of your control are out of your control. Everything else that is in your control, you're fine with. But like, don't stress. And I'm just like kind of navigating all of that because with change and wanting to do, and stress is good to an extent, wanting to do well in this new role, I do find myself stressed and I'm trying to find the outlet. And like, this is my outlet, but obviously I haven't been doing it for a few weeks because I've been so busy. But I'm really excited to kind of like find the balance. With this new job and all of these new changes, I will say I feel more like inspired and awake to life. And that is like one of the best feelings. So even though I'm sitting over here, like honestly biting my teeth sometimes and hoping that anyone doesn't see me just like a stress ball, I will say it has opened my eyes to so many new things. So I'm super excited. And I just want to like say also, like if you guys are thinking of taking a leap of faith or a career pivot or you're feeling unfulfilled, do it now. Like do it when you're young. That was like some of the best piece of advice my mom could have given me, and like totally what I needed is if you're thinking of a career path and you know you want to be happier and fulfilled, just take the leap of faith. Do it. Just do it. And you know what? The sun's still going to come up. Every day is still going to end with Y, and we're going to get through it together. So you guys, thank you for listening. This is episode 49. Episode 50 will be really big because I kind of want to go into more detail about things and I will have more time. But thank you guys for sticking with me. I quit my job. I'm here to tell a tale, and we will talk next time. Bye, guys.